It's ad break time. I'm proud to announce that the Beyond Solitaire podcast is sponsored by Central Michigan University's Center for Learning Through Games and Simulations. Right now, they have a fun new project on the way. The Cracked Mirror, a downloadable expansion for 500-Year-Old Vampire, turns the game into an epistolary experience for 1 to 2 players. The expansion will be available for free in 2026, but you can get it now for a small donation. And trust me, every donation helps CLGS as they continue their mission of producing peer-reviewed games in the academic space. It is pioneering work that no one else is doing yet. Also, if you want to help me keep the lights on over here on the podcast, you can support me at patreon.com/BeyondSolitaire. For now, though, let's get on with the show. Hey, gamers, this is Liz Davis from Beyond Solitaire. And this week on the pod, I have a favorite returning guest. This is Richard Wilkins, a.k.a. Ricky Royal. He was last on this podcast in February of 2022. So it's been more than 3 years. How you doing, Ricky?
Oh, wow. Hello. Wow. Thanks, Liz. Well, thanks for finally conceding to have me back. Is it that long? 3 years? Oh my gosh, 3 years.
Yes. Actually, the last time you were on my podcast, you and I had never had like a face-to-face conversation.
Yeah. Really?
And you encouraged me to design a game, and I said, nah, I don't think I'll ever do that.
Now look at you.
You were just finishing up John Company.
Oh, really?
At the time.
My gosh.
Yeah.
That feels like yesterday. Time flies.
It's crazy.
And we've met in person since then as well, which is wonderful,
Yes.
which was earlier this year.
Yes, that was awesome. I am glad. They say like never meet your heroes, but it was okay. It was okay.
But I met you. Well, thank you, Liz. That's very kind of you to say. But it was quite a surreal meeting because it is like, well, I probably said this last time because we feel like we've known each other for donkeys, but because we talk and we're familiar with each other on what we do. So, and now we're working together as well, which is even better. So, I know it's funny how well I thought 3 years was like yesterday, but it seems like we've done quite a lot in that time.
Yeah,
we've been busy.
We've been working. So we could talk. Let's talk since we just mentioned we're working together. Let's go ahead and talk about Oath a bit, but then I want to catch up on other stuff. So for those of you who do not know, Ricky and I are kind of reaching the tail end at last of working on the solo co-op modes.
Liz, you think you're reaching the tail end. You think you are. And then it all
long
changes.
Tail. It's just a really long tail.
Yes.
We're in the rulebook layout finicky tail, which is better than the no graphics have been done tail.
Yeah. Well, that's the we without me because I'm not getting involved in that stuff. Don't try and just because you've got me here, don't think you're going to rope me into doing that stuff. So, but you've got a wonderful team around you at Leader, haven't you? Because you're working at Leader since we last spoke.
Yes.
And you're in a team of people. So you're doing actual rules, layout, and all that kind of stuff right now.
Yep.
So we've been working together on the design side, and Liz will give me too much credit, but it's with the new Foundations expansion to Oath, which I'll confess I still don't know very little, nothing about. So for everyone listening, I've been working with Liz on the design of the solo and co-op for the Clockwork expansion, but I've just been doing it from the base game perspective. And Liz, you've been doing everything new Foundations. So I'm going to be like the rest of people, not really knowing what's coming for new Foundations, because you've been doing all of that. So and you've been I'm interviewing you now. Have you been enjoying this new time at Leader and this new role and being able to focus 100% on gaming?
Yes, honestly, like other than the fact that I worry that it'll end because the United States is a hellfire of tariffs, this has like been the best year and now change ever for me since grad school. Like I'm so happy.
How long's it been now? When did you?
I started on July 15th last year, so it's been a year and 3 months.
No way.
Yeah. Wow. Crazy. But I am super happy because I love teaching and I love the kids, but I'm intellectually happy now because I get to sit around and think about stuff all day. And even though like solving problems of games, as you know, is stressful because you don't know that the end is necessarily in sight or like that you're doing it right, the the challenge of it is more satisfying to me
Yeah.
than knowing exactly what I have to do every day and just doing it. And
And
then
you're the
I go home.
and you're their full-time solo person, solo
Yes.
and co-op as well, I presume.
Yes, I get to decide. Actually, what's really cool is that Cole basically is like, if you don't think a game needs a solo mode, you can say no.
Yeah.
If you want to work on something, like, if I want to do a solo only project, it's up to them whether they accept it as a studio, but I'm allowed to spend my time on that. Um, I
Yeah.
have a lot of creative control. I'm trusted to have the taste to know what to do with the solo.
That's good. That's wonderful. Well, it's good. Yeah. Well, it's obviously your debut project for them is Oath, and we've been, like I said, been working together on that.
Yeah.
Um, and it's interesting because I was reading something on Board Game Geek. I often go on to Board Game Geek to look at, just keep an eye on the forums and what's going on there. In particular, the One Player Guild, and they were talking about having, like, should every, it's a conversation that comes up often there. Should every game have a solo mode? And obviously, when it's right and when it's not. And also, not just that, but are these solo modes just kind of tacked on the end? And what's interesting with I think a lot of people believe they are, and I think even a lot of solo designers, I think, because they're doing it, think that they are, because that's just every project they've been involved in. But when you look at New Foundations and Oath, okay, it's a little bit different because it's an expansion. But we've been there from the beginning on this.
Yes.
From the moment let's do an expansion, it's been employ Liz, get Ricky in, let's talk about the solo. So I think a lot of people think that the game comes and then the solo goes on the end, but we've been very much working in parallel. I don't know if
Yes.
maybe, obviously it's probably different publishers, but it's interesting because Cole, like I say, is not um, and Patrick are not a leader, are not necessarily solo people themselves. I don't know Patrick, so I can't
Patrick loves
speak, but
co-op.
one, right, okay,
Yeah.
okay. So he's appreciative of it, but um, but obviously I've worked with Cole on lots of projects. Like we did Molly House earlier this year. Before that, you talked about John Company was when we last spoke, and Pax Premier. But with Cole, it's been very much let's do the solo right, as early on as possible. And as you've been finding, okay, there's pros and cons. So we're very much wrapped up in the development process of the game with the solo. But obviously, if the multiplayer game design changes, we have to change with it. And that's the difficulty, that sometimes we do have to just undo and redo things. But at the same time, because it's a team and you're within that leader team, how have you found this actually? Because I know there has been occasions where we've said, and this actually came up with when I've been working with Dominic Krebachetz on Nature at North Star Games, and this came up a couple of times where I said, Dom wanted to make a change, and I've said, well, that's not going to work with solo. Or Dom said to me, is this going to mess up solo? Because he's very mindful, and I know Cole has been mindful. I mean, how have you been finding that it leader? The fact that we've been working in parallel means, yes, we've got to sometimes throw stuff away, but at the same time, we're kind of able to influence the multiplayer design at times too. Is that how far do you think you can go with that statement?
Ooh, some distance, but not all the way. So what's very interesting,
Right.
Cole is very serious about his creative purity. That's a weird way to put it. Cole's the
He
artistic
doesn't want to.
director.
He doesn't
It's
want to compromise that. Yeah.
it's gonna go. The game is gonna be what he thinks is the best game, and it is my job as the solo person to adapt. However, there have been changes he was playing with where I looked at him and I said, Cole, I know that you're gonna do what you're gonna do, but this is making my life bad.
Yeah.
Like, this is bad for me. And like
Mhm.
he's backed off of like a couple of things that he was kind of starting to think about, like
Right.
because I'm there to catch it before it goes so far down the path that and like he'll come and say, okay, so this is Cole. So we're talking about, right? Cole loves to
Yeah.
tweak right up to the very end because he's a perfectionist and I respect this about him. Cole's a man who would never take a B plus when he could have an A plus,
Right.
whatever that
Right.
means, right? And so I appreciate that, but sometimes he'll come and stick his head in the door and he'll be like, so we're making like a couple of last tweaks, and I'll just feel my blood chill. um but he started to preface those with like, oh, but it doesn't it won't hurt you, it's not going to hurt Solo. And usually he's right at this point. Like, he's actually kind of like, because we've been developing a tandem and he knows what you and I are doing, and I report to him regularly about it.
Right,
I think that it's made it better. And like, even going back and making changes, like, I don't know how you feel about this, but I don't mind, because I feel like it's making me a better designer faster.
right,
Because, I'm still pretty early career on that. And so I kind of welcome the challenge, because I'm getting better with every problem I have to solve. And so I might as well just solve some now. Let's do it.
mm,
But also, I like being on the ground with the actual thing that I'm working with and making a mode for, because it makes me feel really connected to it. And it makes it easier for me to make decisions, or like at least see where the problems are, so that when I'm like writing you a message on Discord, I'm like, okay, so we're having a problem with this post point and that post point, and I'm thinking this. What do you think? As opposed to like, just it's just a mess. I have no idea. Like,
mm, mm.
it's
Well,
easier to
and
do
that
something intimately. So
right, yeah, that's why I joked with you about at the beginning about how you think you've finished, because we know that there could be a change that means we have to redo something. But I don't mind; it's fine because it's like that thing where you, it, a design is never finished. We know a design is never finished, and at some point you've got a deadline that you've got to hit, and you've got to finish.
yeah,
And sometimes it's finished. It's just what it is when it is at that point.
yeah.
Um,
I,
but
I
no,
will
if you
say
have to
this.
throw things away, I think that's fine. If you have to throw things away and redo them, I'm quite happy because it just means we get to do all the fun stuff again. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah, actually, all that change is what gave us the lead time to do the Queen of Shadows mode.
right,
Because
right,
if Cole had decided to have a clean break earlier in the process instead of keep developing the way that he has, we wouldn't have had time to slip that co-op mode in the box.
right. Don't give away our secrets too much, Liz. But you're right. Every
Eh,
time it makes a change, it's like, oh, you've made a change. We need another few weeks because of that change. But we kind of we love those extra few weeks. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Well, I
So
know we keep thinking we finished on Oath, and in a sense, I'm kind of looking forward to just saying yes, it's done. And it is a
yeah,
wonderful point because you can probably you can probably think about the next thing. I've got a few things that I want to do, but for as long as I keep working on Earth, I can't do them because I'm having to focus on this. But at the same time, like you said, we like having that extra time because you want to make it the best you can make it. Um, and yeah, and if Cole makes another change to the base design, then we have to change. We don't want to cut corners. We're going to want to just say, I'm really sorry, but we're going to need more time because we want to try
yeah,
and make it as right as possible. And that is for sure something that maybe a lot of publishers don't understand, that if they think the solo mode can just come at the end and it's just like a little flourish at the end, it's not. It's as important that the game plays well at one player as it does at two, at three, at four, at five. And those kind of ends of the spectrum sometimes do suffer. So maybe a game doesn't play as well at five as it does at three. But and maybe the game doesn't play as well as two as it does at four, but you can't compromise on one because if someone's playing solo, that's all they're playing a lot of the time, and it's got to be the best you can make it. And not just that, I feel it's got to be worthwhile. It's like with Oath, we could have just used that word just. We could have just made something that worked, but
yeah,
we wanted to make something that was special. And this is a discussion you and I had right at the beginning. We don't want to just make something that works or just tries to emulate another player or just tries to do what everybody else tries to do with the solo mode. We wanted to create something that was new and I'll try and do this with all my solo games. I want to, and sometimes that's hard, and sometimes you do have to compromise a designer and give publishers what they want, which sometimes is something quickly. But personally, for me, and I know you feel this way too, is you want to create something that's not average. You want to create something that's new. You want to create something that feels different to any other silo game experience or otherwise. So many games you'll play and go, yeah, it was okay. You want to create something that people either love or they hate. okay, all right, some people are going to hate it, and I know this for sure. But if some people love it, then that's much better that we have the people who also hate it. Because I think a lot of people will have expectations about what they want your solo mode to be, and it's not going to be that. Um, but for the people who are surprised by it and are going to get an experience out of the game that they never thought they were going to get, then that's a wonderful thing, I think, because that means they can keep coming back to it. And they'll want to play it again. Because I think today as well, a lot of the times, and maybe we fall into this trap a little bit when we do stuff because we fall into that kind of reviewer bracket a little bit, that you play things a few times and then you move on to the next thing. But if you can create a game that's a lifestyle game, or a game that's people are going to keep coming back to, then that's worthwhile, because then you've created something that's going to stick around and people are going to value. Um, but again, you do run the risk of some people hating it. That's the only thing. But there you go. That's the way it is. Yeah.
There's always haters.
Uh,
You said something similar to this in our last interview, actually, which is that you're always
really?
looking for like the new thing to do and you don't want to fall into an old rut. So,
Okay.
okay, a few years on, are you finding it easier or harder to do something new?
Um, Easier, because more experience. I've experienced more games. I know, a lot of times at the beginning, 10, 15 years ago, I was doing things I didn't know weren't new. It was like reinventing the wheel, but you didn't know you were doing that because you'd never seen one before. Um, and also, you you've experienced so many different types of mechanisms and everything that you can bring you can bring all that experience forward and you can use it, because it's very hard to come up with original stuff. Um, but also, you know, if it makes you feel good, if it gives you that kind of spark, you know that there's a spark there. I mean, I'm working on something right now. It's called Rushes. It's a card game I've been working on for donkeys, and I know that the spark is missing, and I know that, you know when I first started the game, probably, oh gosh, it could be 5, 10 years ago. I don't know. I thought it was finished, but now I know it's not, and I've been working on it for ages because I know that it's missing something, and I'll keep working on it until I find that thing. I keep thinking I've found it. So it's like with Molly House. When I worked on that, it was trying to create something that I felt hadn't been created before, and that's so much fun, and it is fun. Um, just to do that. And the Old King's Crown, which is just reaching backers now. I think actually this year's been quite a big year. I've done quite a lot this year. You're trying to, like, Old King's Crown has got bidding and trick taking, which people say you can't do that solo, and it was all about saying yes, you can actually, and let's think of a way of making it work. And that was just great working with Pablo on that. And like for you and I working on the co-op for Oath, it's creating something new, and I hope people will be surprised by it, and it'll give them something they weren't expecting. Um, and all right, it might not be entirely the image of the game that Cole created, but it's the image of the game that you and I, it's got our stamp on it, which is
Yeah.
really nice. Um, um, but obviously with Cole's wonderful, world, that we've been able to design this game in. Um, so yeah, I think it gets um, easier in a way because you've just got more awareness of what you're doing, less naivety. That means you're not falling into those traps that you were falling into 10 years ago. Of thinking something was great when it wasn't. Um, and then, what? Even now, like I said, I've got this game. I keep thinking it's done and it's not. Um, but it's just having that awareness that it's not any good. You know, it really helps. Yeah, yeah. And what's the point of putting out something average? We can all do that if we wanted to, but what's the point? So
Yeah.
I think that's some.
They said what 5,000 games came out last year. Probably a lot of them had solo modes. How many of them will get played?
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying that those people probably haven't done a good job, but everyone's got different tastes. That's the thing too. So
Yeah,
Liz and Ricky make games for Liz and Ricky, but a lot of people
indeed.
won't like them, and other people will make games for them, and that's the wonderful thing. It's it's um it's a very personal thing what you like and what you don't, because it's like an art form. It's just something that it's in the eye of the beholder, and it really is. One of the difficult things for maybe we have it a little bit easier, because one of the difficult things for game groups is finding a game that everyone enjoys. But at least for solo, you only need to please one person.
That's the
um,
best part. Yeah.
yeah,
How
exactly.
many game nights have I politely played when somebody else wanted to play?
Yeah, yeah. But then again, you're doing it for a different. This is the thing, and maybe I say maybe it's easier for us. Maybe it isn't actually, because in a multiplayer game, you're not always there. The For me anyway, maybe this isn't, again, it's a personal thing, maybe this isn't the same for everyone, but I love playing games with other people, but the game is kind of a backdrop, and what I'm really there for is to interact with those people. um, and the game is less important. But like you said, you can happily sit through a game you don't necessarily enjoy just because you're in good company.
Yeah.
Whereas with solo, unless you really enjoy your own company, the game becomes the focus. So it has to be a good game. There's no excuse. There's no. It's not a backdrop. It's right there in the forefront, taking. Like a movie or a book. It's just, there's one person engrossed in it. Um, yeah, so it has to be more. Yeah, I guess you can play solo games with other people too. That's true. I was playing War Story. Um, the uh, David Neal
Yeah,
worked
Dave
with.
Neal and David Thompson, the Osprey one.
Yeah. I was playing that, and I was thinking, well, and okay, it felt like a solo game, but it's the kind of game where actually you can bring many people together and play. It's a co-op game really, but it felt better as a solo game for me. But it's the kind of game where you could kind of play it as a group, and it doesn't matter that whether there's one character or five characters, you can all play it together and play the story together. So you can do that with solo games. But more often than not, it's one person, one game. The game experience is a lot more dominant to whether you're going to have a good time or not. Whereas you can sit and play a crappy game and still have a good time if you're in good company. So maybe there
Yeah.
is more pressure on us as solo designers.
Yeah, having to hold
Although,
somebody's attention while they're having their me time is a different ask for sure.
yeah,
So you
yeah,
mentioned,
yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, you go ahead and finish your thought.
Well, I was just going to say, like a film or a book, the game has to deliver an emotional experience, and that's very hard to do. And when you're working on a solo mode for a multiplayer game, this is why I think it's really important. And this is something that you and I talked about when we were talking about the co-op in particular. There's two in New Foundations, the expansion coming, the Clockwork expansion for Oath. Um, there's two modes. There's the servant, which tries to emulate another player, and then there's the co-op mode, which is delivering this new game experience. Um, the what the co-op does what I think what we're talking about, which is giving you a new. It's telling you a different story. In a multiplayer game, you've got other people, but when you're reading a book or watching a movie on your own or playing a solo game, the game has to do something different. It's not a platform for people to spend time together. Like mechanisms like bidding, and and the traitor mechanic, um, negotiation. Those kind of things work with other people, and that's
Yeah.
why they're wonderful mechanisms that Cole likes to use. But in Oath as a solo game, co-op's slightly easier because there's still those kind of things where you have to work together, and communication above the table is really important. But the game has to deliver a different experience, has to give you a story and emotion and maybe a puzzle to solve. It has to give so much more, and it relies on less on player input that you can get from, like I say, those kind of mechanisms that the human element brings to the game. I hope
Yeah.
that makes sense. That's kind of what I was trying to say.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it still has to feel oathy, which is like a word we've used around the office a lot this year. Like, does it
yeah,
feel oathy? Is it still true to the spirit of the original source
yeah.
material while also being different?
But I think
Um,
that's why sometimes if you try and tack on a solo mode to a multiplayer game where the multiplayer game is trying to do a very different thing to the solo, then that's perhaps when you run the risk of failing. Um, and I think that's probably why we felt that when we and I felt doing for every solo mode for a game is that you have to bring something new. The solo game has to bring something new. It has to bring a new kind of experience. So what I'll always try and do is kind of layer on new mechanisms or surprising ways of interacting with the game. Although it feels like you're playing the same game,
yeah,
you have to kind of bring something unique. So the solo game has to deliver something different, because otherwise it's just a less satisfying way to play a multiplayer game, and that's no good.
yeah,
Yeah, I guess that's
yeah.
what I'm trying to say.
I agree because you don't want the game to feel like a shadow of having a real friend to play with.
Hmm.
Like that's like the joke about solo
Yes,
gaming, right? But
yes,
what you want is something that is intrinsically engaging and that
yeah,
doesn't just feel like the
yeah,
afterthought or like a weak version of something that was strong.
yeah. And to bring the essence of the main game, like so for Oath, what is Oath about? You have to bring that. You got to think about right when we're playing the multiplayer game. What kind of experiences is that giving you? Um, and in Oath, there is a little bit of treachery, and there is a lot of negotiation, and there is trying to convince another player to do something else, or think about the way the actions you take. How are they going to impact other people? And we had to bring that into the solo game and into the co-op game to make it still feel like Oath. So in the servant, for example, will react to what you're doing, and the cards that you play to the table will influence the way that the bot, let's call it the bot, and we call it the servant, behaves. And that was really important. And so when you're sketching out what a solo design needs to look like, particularly if you're adding it to an existing game as a solo mode or as a solo add-on, um, you have to think about what emotions do I feel as a player in that game? What experiences am I getting? How is my brain thinking? And if you can just force that player to still think in those kind of ways, then it still feels like the same game. Um, and I think that's a really important thing that perhaps people don't realize that's not as simple as just trying to make a computer play the game. That's like a player would. Trying to do that with a cardboard solo game is a very different task. Um, yeah, a very different task. Um, and that's what makes it interesting for me. It's trying to get under the bonnet of the game, and not so much the game, but the players. So play the game and talk to players and understand how they feel. What do they feel when they play the game? But obviously, that's very different when you're building something new, like with Deckers, which is coming out at Essen Spiel this year
Going
in
right
October.
where I want you to
Later,
go.
I mean that's inherently a solo game right from the beginning. You're not trying to tack on a solo mode. You're not trying to soloize a multiplayer game. It's a
Yeah.
co-op game that plays. That is, in fact, it's kind of a solo game that happens to play multiplayer as well. Um, and that's a different design challenge altogether. Um, yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah. So and I don't know why we went down that road, but anyway, creating solo modes. Do it for yourself. I encourage people, and I encouraged you, however many years ago it was, to do it yourself. Um, have a go because it's great fun. Great fun, and if even if it doesn't get published, it's good for you because you've got a new way to play. So it's all valuable. Yeah. So
Indeed.
do it.
So this actually leads exactly to where I wanted to push this conversation. See, you did it because I wanted you to, and naturally to play the game. So
Secret powers.
you and I've been working together on a solo mode, but we also both enjoy designing our own things, and I feel
Yes.
like this is true for both of us. Like my first designs, at least, I've got other things in the pipeline, have been
Mm,
solo only, and they've been catering to that solo experience. Like Night Witches is 1 or 2 player co-op.
yeah.
Um, and
And
then
it's
Queen of
fabulous, by the
Spies
way.
is one only. Oh, thank you.
We played in what I said earlier. We met in person. We played at UK Games Expo and with a couple of friends of mine, and we played 3-player. And you were kind of acted as the teacher in that game. And it's a co-op, so you can play it solo or with many people, but it's the same game. It doesn't change. You're
Yeah.
not having to develop new rules for playing solo or multiplayer. So it's inherently good at those player counts. And what was fascinating playing co-op too was those penny drop moments when it suddenly became really important that we cooperated and worked together, and all that above the table conversation started to happen. Okay, if you go here and then if I do here and then I come behind and do this, and that naturally came from that game. But when you're playing solo, um, you can do that too because you can run it as more than one player. So
Oh yeah.
you're still having to kind of negotiate and work your team cooperatively. Yeah, but yeah, sorry, you were asking a question. I
Yeah,
interrupted
I
you
was I was getting around to, so do you have a preferred type of design experience? Like, do you actually, I mean, you're just pressed for time. So do you prefer to do your own thing from scratch? Do you prefer
there.
doing a mode? And like, how have those experiences differed for you?
Okay, that's a good question. Which do I prefer? Um, well, I'm drawn to working with other people. Um, I like both. I genuinely do like both. Um, I'm I've kind of got this urge to go back to doing something for myself again because I've been doing so much, um, um, just other people's designs. But I tend to prioritize working with other people because it's it's not so much about. Well, I'm in a fortunate position. I mean, it's your job now. It's your career. For me, this is still very much a hobby, so I can afford to just treat it like that. So if I just want to spend time with people, then I can do that by helping them with their games, and that's just good. It's just jolly good fun kind of thing. Um, Whereas if I'm working something on my own, I'm not working with other people, so it's a little more solitary. But I am someone who likes to have a little bit of time away, and that it's kind of my little escape. And I'm quite happy with my own company, so I'm happy to obviously why I enjoy playing solo games. It's a way to just. My daughter says recharge your batteries. That's the phrase she uses, and I guess I'm not sure if it's that or just having a little bit of peace and quiet. So I'm happy. I need both. Um, I love um, I love teaching people games, for example, and I love spending time with people and sharing experiences with people. But I also like my own company from time to time. So I'm happy with both. I would like to spend more time, I think, just working on some of my own designs, just from um, I don't know, maybe just trying to do something that I feel is mine kind of point of view. Um, I think that's okay. I mean, when Deckers comes out, you do kind of feel a little bit of accomplishment, a sense of accomplishment that you've done something and on your own. But even then, it's very much, you know, a, a a teamwork thing. So even working with decals, although the design is yours, you're working with artists and you're working with publishers and you're working with developers, and all that time is good time. Um, so you do get that chance to work with other people, even when you're just working on what's just your design.
Yeah.
Because you can't, unless you're someone like Pablo Clark who does the artwork and the design and then everything.
Although
Um,
I guess he's got a team. I'll note that
yeah,
this is why I gravitate to co-design. Night Witch is a co-design with
right,
David. David and I've done a couple games together. Like, it is also my excuse for having friend time.
right, yeah,
So,
yeah.
if
This is best of
if you design something
both.
with your best friend, then you just hang
Yeah,
out. There's
that's
always
good.
an excuse.
Yeah, and I think just being able to discuss ideas with other people just keeps you. Well, it's our human trait, I think, to want to be with other people. I think it's our instinct to want to work with other people.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I do. I will like. I think I would. Um, I would like to spend some more time working on my own designs, but at the same time, I will always prioritize. I think there's a tendency to prioritize working with other people.
Makes
Um,
sense. What are so you have had a big year. Old King's Crown is on the way in. Um, Molly
yeah.
House made it out this year. You and I are working on Oath. You are working on Nature. What else what are you working on right now?
You've pretty much covered it all, Liz. Rivals of Rock with Candice Harris is upcoming. That's kind of a little bit. Candice is one of these people, probably like me, then, who's gives priority to doing what other people want her to do rather than what she wants to do. So that's kind of a little bit in a holding pattern at the moment. So I'm kind of waiting for Candice to come back to me with um, some rule changes, and I think she wants to update the tabletop simulator. Tabletop simulator is just a blessing for us working. I
Yeah.
mean, you're in the US, I'm in the UK, and we get to work together and play together, though we don't do that enough. But with tools like tabletop simulator, it makes the world so much easier to be able to do this remotely. Um, and even working on King's Crown with Pablo, and he's up in Edinburgh, I'm down in Somerset, so we're hundreds of miles apart, but we can still work together on stuff because it's a little easier with people in the same time zone, Liz. It must be terribly early for you, but I know you never sleep. But
I
um,
do sleep. It's just that I sleep like an old lady. So it's 6:41 a.m. right now. We started this
that's
at
it.
about
Okay,
6.
yeah,
But like David is actually the same way. He and I go to bed like 9:30 and then wake up
right,
at
okay,
4:30ish
right,
our
wow,
time, our respective times. So
yeah. So we can. I mean, this is it. The thing that the world has changed in the last 15 years that we can suddenly work as a team with people all over the world, just time allowing, isn't it?
yeah.
So I know you and I struggle trying to find times to get together, but we have tools that make this a lot easier. So yeah, so I'm kind of waiting. So working. I mean, Candice is in the US, so again, it's working on a solo mode for that. Um, and in my own projects, I don't have publishers for yet. So because you have to kind of, I want to take a finished product to a publisher.
Yeah.
I don't have time to self-publish. Again, it's a hobby for me. So I want to be able to create a finished product that I can take to a publisher and say, here you go. Do you want to publish this? But it's very hard. It's very hard because, um, and this is the other thing you ask about working with publishers. Publishers, although I want to take a finished game to a publisher, publishers want to publish their own games. And they've got their own, people that they work with and people that, I mean, they're creative people. And that's something about our industry that the publishers, um, look at Cole and he's a designer and a publisher. And that's a common thing that you are the publisher and the designer and you want to be publishing your own things. Um, for people like Cole to go out to like Joe Kelly and do Molly House is a wonderful thing because it gives an opportunity. And I know Chip Theory Games have started doing this. They start publishing their own games. You work with them, you're familiar, and they've started reaching out to other designers um, to publish other people's designs. And it is a hard thing working on your own stuff to get a publisher to give you the time to even look at it, because they've got
Yeah.
so much of their own stuff they want to publish. Um, maybe, there's a world full of people with ideas. So maybe the world is not short of ideas, and maybe it's that. And I think that's why you've got to stand out and create something, like I've been working on rushes for years because I wanted to have that spark. And I know without it, why would I want to publish it? And if I take it to hey, look, this is like me doing a little self bit promotion now. Publishers are listening. If I come to you with my game, it's because it's worth publishing, right? Or Liz, right? So we've got stuff that's worth listen to us. But no, to anyone out there who's listening who wants to do this, it is hard. Don't be disheartened though. You just got to make something really good, which is easier said than done. But you've got to make a lot of rubbish, before you can make something great. There's exceptions. Sometimes someone comes along and their first game is a massive hit. Um,
But that
but
comes with its own
working,
pressures. So
sure, yeah. Well, I wouldn't know, but I'm sure that's true. But obviously, working on solo mode, it means I get to do stuff, and it's not. I don't have to convince a publisher to publish the game they're already publishing. All I've got to do is convince them that adding a solo mode that's going to work is a good thing. And I have said no a lot of times as well, because you want to make sure that the solo mode is worth doing and that it's right for their game. Um, and so all these things you said, Ricky, you're working on this and that it's because they're worthwhile. Like we talked about nature. So nature's just, I mean, it's just coming to backers now, and we're actually launching the next Kickstarter, which is the climate expansion. So Dominic um, reached out to me. Oh gosh, I can't remember if it was Dominic or someone else, but ultimately, I had to feel like it was right, because also we were very short of time. And I mean, Dominic's put a lot of faith and trust in me, because he knew he wanted to do it and he had his own ideas about what to do. And typical for me, I wanted to make it something completely new and different in a short amount of time. Um, and he trusted me to do that, which I thankful for. But it could very easily have been a case of it's not right. It's just going to be another average solo mode, which, all right, commercially might have been okay, but that wouldn't have been enough for me to want to say yes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if I mean there was moments when I thought, oh, I think Dom wants something that's going to be just simple and not creative, and just something that not taking a risk. But finally Dom did say yes to me, and it is, and Dom did take a risk with that solo mode, because I know some people will not like it, and maybe it's a little bit more complex than he wanted, but um, I think you have to take a risk every now and again, because it's kind of easy to make an average game, and you've got to try at least to do something new,
Yeah.
and otherwise, why bother? That's my feeling, anyway.
Yeah. Well, one thing I
Um,
actually really appreciated about Deckers, which I've been playing, I need to like get it on tape so I can put out for you.
mm,
But I really like it because you leaned into what you really I think like as a player, which is making me sit there and plan out my whole turn and like figure it out and think ahead. And like these are things that solo players I think in general really like. You and I have very similar tastes, but it really feels like a game that's like for me, if that makes sense,
right, okay.
because it's for you and like we have like a
Yes.
relatively
Yes.
similar taste. But do you think it took you time to develop the willingness to just do it the way that you like? We talked about allowing people to love or hate what we do,
Mm.
and like kind of making that swing for the fence. Is that something that you've always done, or is it something that you've had to develop the confidence to do? I think it pays off because it leads to things that are really great, but it's hard in the beginning.
Um, I don't think I consciously thought I'm going to create something that people will love or hate. I think people just started hating it, and then I had to suck it up. Um, but enough people liked it too. So no, I didn't. I don't think that I set out to be like divisive or controversial or break any ground. I literally just wanted to make a game that I wanted to play. It was no more sophisticated than that. But it just turned out that it became apparent that if you make a game for you, if it's not necessarily a commercial success, if you want to make a game that lots of people are going to like, that's not necessarily a game that you're going to like. That's two different objectives, and I did indeed set out to make something that I liked, and I didn't give a monkey's whether anybody else liked it or not. That's because I was in that position. I wasn't trying to make money out of it. Do you know what I mean? And it
Yeah.
wasn't. It was just I had the luxury of just doing something for fun. Um, but I'm glad you're enjoying that kind of idea of having to plan things out, because I mean that comes a lot from the theme as well. I mean I had um, Mateus Nodju, who was the publisher, Deep Print Games, asked me to write Designer's Diary, and I had to kind of do it. I started this game, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. I think it was about 2010 when it started to initially bubbled up as an idea. And I thought I'm going to make a game, because it was my first game, obviously. I mean, I say that, but I mean, I've always made games, even from kid, with my crayons and bits of paper. But the first time I thought I'm going to make a game to publish was that, that relatively recently, 15 years ago. It was, and it has developed. It got published initially in 2018, and then is being published again now, 7 years later. But even in those 7 years, I've still been developing and putting right the mistakes that I made with my naivety then. And I have perhaps softened some of that stuff that I found acceptable, but I knew other people wouldn't. So let me try and think of an example. So sometimes we talk a lot about balance in this game and making sure that things are balanced and that things have a nice smooth feeling. I wanted my game to be not smooth. I wanted it to be spiky and rough. I wanted it to suddenly kick you where it hurts, and a lot of people don't like that. They don't want the roll of you and me play backgammon together, and the roll of a dice can swing your game.
Oh
But
God.
suddenly got PTSD from that double six when when it did nothing because all your pieces were on 5. But those things, I love that about the game. Even if I'm at the bad end of it, it's funny. It's funny for me that I rolled that double when the moment when every other point a double would have been great apart from now, and then now that to me is funny, right? But a lot of people
Yeah.
would get frustrated and hate it and go, "Oh, this is luck." And I'm a great believer in you make your own luck. And backgammon's taught me that you'll play and you'll make your own luck. You're thinking about the odds and you're thinking about what if this, what if that, what if that, and oh gosh, I've wandered off. My thought train's drifted off somewhere. But I wanted my game to have these spiky. Oh wow! Look, just what I'm trying not to swear. Look at what the
This isn't the dice tower. It's
heck.
allowed.
Oh yeah, good point. All right, what the heck just happened? And I wanted my game to have those little spiky moments and some imbalance, and sometimes it will throw up a curveball, and that's the story. Because every time you play Deckers, I want it to be a completely different experience to the last. But at the same time, I want you to be able to know the game well enough that you can get better at it. And that was a very difficult mix to get, because it meant that you had to throw in curveballs, but you had to allow players to have the skill to deal with them. And unfortunately, what that means is that in those early games of Deckers, those curve calls can come, and you'll just think, well, I couldn't do anything about that. That's impossible. Or what the heck? This game's stupid, because it's giving you a situation that feels impossible. And if you're the type of player who will walk away going, that's impossible, then you're not going to like it. But if you're the
Yeah.
type of person that walks away and then spends the next 3 days thinking about it and thinking, oh, what if I'd have done that? And oh wow, what if I'd have done that? And suddenly you think, actually, and then you want to play again because you want to go, well, let's go try out that idea. That's what it's about. But it
Yeah.
runs the risk that people will never get to that point because they never get those realizations, or they're not the kind of person who wants to spend time thinking about how they might have done things differently. So it's not a game for everybody. It's a game for people who want to get completely wrapped up in it. That's what kind of game it is. And I guess that's why it plays a little bit better solo, because unless you've got a really good game group or game partner, it plays really well at 2, because if your person you're playing with is someone like you and wants to reflect on your game and go, oh, we should have done this, and what if we'd have done that, and oh yeah, and then right, let's go play again, let's try it this way. If that gives you a buzz, it does me, and I get excited thinking about that, then this game is for you. But if it's the kind of game where you can't, if you can't lose and not feel a little bit aggrieved, then you might suffer a little bit, I think, and that's fair. Sometimes people don't want to have to think like, with all their brain because it's tiring and hard.
This is
Then
exhausting.
that's
Yes.
fine. It can be exhausting, yes. And if you're someone who doesn't want an exhausting thinky game, then maybe it's not for you. but that's what that's about. And that meant over, I guess over the last, I'll try and answer your question now. I think over the course of its development, I took a little bit of the roughness off those things, and maybe made some of the, I mean, I'd put things in that were just totally unachievable in the first game on purpose, thinking, oh, that's hilarious. But now I realize it's not hilarious because it just upsets more people than who find it funny. So I've had to take the edge off a little bit, and which is fair. And I think that's just me learning that I might find
Got
it
a little
funny, but
Loki in
it's
you. It's all right.
yeah, it's a bit krill. So you
So
know, yeah.
your time is super limited. I could talk shop with you forever. I really enjoy it, but I know you've got like 5 minutes. So
Likewise, thanks, Liz.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
ask you softy questions. The first one. So you
Okay.
talk about games that give you a buzz. What have you been
Uh,
playing recently that gave you one that you really liked?
oh, well, not a lot because I don't often get games to the table. Um, but what have I been playing recently? Well, I've just told you I was playing War on France. So that was the last thing I played. I don't get a lot of time to play a lot of things. I was playing Creature Caravan. I really enjoyed that. That was something I picked up recently. Um, One game I've started to get a little bit obsessed with that is Age of Steam. It's not a new game, but it doesn't have a lot of solo maps. So I've been kind of getting a little bit caught up in designing my own maps for that, like solo ones. So, but that again, it's hard. But sometimes it's very hard to play a game without tearing it apart and trying to see it from a designer's perspective. Um, so yeah, maybe that's something I've been kind of. Have you played Age of
No.
Steam? No, it's
Wait,
really good fun.
no. I was supposed to at somebody's birthday, and then I got sick. I got to do it.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, that can happen. Um, what else have I been playing? I've actually been enjoying playing nature. It's funny. Sometimes when you work on a game, you don't really want to play it again. But I've been really enjoying the thing about nature. It's a modular game. It's got lots of different modules. Um, and even throughout the development of the solo and designing it all, there's just some module combinations I haven't tried. So I've just been trying new ways of playing that game. It sounds a bit conceited playing the game that you worked on, but it's no, Dominic's done a really good job with that. And it's face value. It comes across as I first thought I was like, where's the depth? And then you suddenly find it, and you start adding in these modules, and it becomes interesting. So yeah, so I've been enjoying a bit of that. And I've been playing on you, Liz. This is your fault. You taught me Board Game Arena. Is
I
it Board
did.
Game Arena? Um,
Yeah.
so I've been playing Forest Shuffle Dartmoor on there, which I've been really enjoying. Have you played Forest Shuffle? I don't think you played
No.
Forest Shuffle, have you?
We should
Um,
play it. Invite me to the
okay,
game.
yeah, okay, well, let's do that. I think that's a game that again, I think it's a game that a lot of people will love or hate. Um, but I've been really enjoying that, and I've got this wonderful patient. I don't know if it is because it's on board game where you don't always know you're playing, but I'm playing two player, but patiently because I found someone who's quite happy for me to. You've got the tortoise mode where you can
Yes,
just
yes.
like you and I play as a tortoise. We don't have to play 100 turns a day. It's like one turn every 3 weeks or something, but like, once a day, twice a day.
Yeah.
We're kind of like, but for me that's kind of nice because and I like it because I like the physicality of games, so it's unusual for me to say that I like it. But what it means is I've actually got like Oath is underneath my lap. My laptop's sitting on Oath right now, but I can't play anything because I've got all this stuff set out here. But I can go onto Board Game Arena and play Forest Shuffle. So I've been playing that. It's good fun. And it looks pretty. And also I'm working on my game, which is I've got my book here, British Wildlife. You can't see it
Oh
on your
yeah.
podcast, but this book you can't see on your podcast. But I got this when I don't know how old I was probably about 8. And I got this as a Christmas present from my mum and dad. And this is my treasure. And I enjoyed looking at the pictures. Um, and I've been making this game, and this has been inspiring me to do it. So I've
Ooh.
got it here. And Forest Shuffle Dartmoor is I know you're a keen wildlife enthusiast, and yeah, I've been really enjoying the artwork of Forest Shuffle and just spending time with looking at the pictures, and imagining these wonderful environments. That's what I've been playing. What about you?
Ooh. Well, I have been playing a lot of Deckers. I've been playing a lot of Leviathan Wilds, which I'm
Okay,
enjoying
I
quite a
don't know
bit.
this one.
I think you would like it. It's Have you ever played Shadow of the Colossus, like the video game?
No, I'm not a
Okay,
big
so
video game.
premise of this is that there are monsters that you have to climb in order to break crystals that are corrupting them and like making them bad. So you're helping them instead of killing the monster.
Okay.
But you have to shuffle some decks together so you have like a character and their like kind of class or job. And you can have different combinations of how people play, and you're trying to manage your grip strength, which is like the deck size, and like climb up the monster and destroy the crystals on it. And it's
Uh-huh.
cooperative. There are some solo rules too, where you can kind of play a big hand. It's like two characters in it, and it's a good time. I think you would
Nice.
enjoy it. Like,
Okay.
yeah,
Look it out. So do you
yeah, it's
do you
fun.
find video games is a good way to get away from, because board games are your day job now, so and night job and every other time of day because you don't sleep. But do you retreat into video games every now and again?
When I can. I'm basically, once Oath is at a point where I feel like I can allow myself to do it, I'm gonna pick a video game and I'm gonna be really, really bad and play it a bunch. Maybe like a
Okay.
couple games if they're short, and then get back into it. I find video games somewhat addictive, so I have to be careful about how much of them are part of my life. When I was writing my dissertation, I literally spent half my day researching and the other half playing Skyrim because it was such a good escape. But it
Right.
also meant that I knew I had the capacity to just play and play and play and play and play, and that's something I have to kind of manage, or else.
You should get out and spot those birds, Liz, because I've been at
Yes,
so
I
yeah,
saw a purple finch yesterday. It was great.
a purple finch. Yeah, I
Yes,
don't
it's
know
just
what
their
those
head, but
are.
like,
Okay. Yeah, I retreated to the to watch some lapwings on the Somerset Levels yesterday, which was really nice, and that just gets you away. But even if you're retreating, watching the bird life, I know my little brain's ticking away thinking about games, but you have to switch off now and again. It's really
yes,
important. Yeah, retreat to the outdoors is a great way to for your mental health. I think it's the best thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's been good.
good, good.
So,
All
as
right.
we draw to a close, for people who want to find you online, still box
Okay.
lights.
Yes, yes, yes. Still bots of delights. Yeah, you can find me on YouTube. I'm not one. I'm not a big one for social media, but I do have my my YouTube, so you can always leave comments because I'm pretty. I think I'm pretty good at answering comments, but let me know if you don't, and if I don't reply, it's because I'm not as good as I thought it was. But yeah, no, I'm not. Yeah, yeah. But there you go. But Board Game Geek, I obviously look at as well, so you can always find there. And yeah, I've got my own website, boxofdelights.net, where you can reach out to me and send me an email or message and tell me what you've been doing and what wonderful ideas you've had. And yeah, I'm always happy to talk to people.
Excellent.
Thanks,
All right,
Liz.
everybody. I am, as usual, Beyond Solitaire. Ricky, thanks so much for coming on. I love like getting our moments that we snatch where we can actually just talk for a while, so, even if
They're
it's on a
too rare.
podcast.
They're too rare. Yeah.
All right,
Thanks, Liz.
everybody,
Appreciate it.
please like, subscribe, comment, ask questions, and most of all, happy gaming.